Well, hello. This is all working out. This is great. I guess we had some issues with some time zones. So every Wednesday, 12 o'clock PST. It's always going to be that way. And if not, I will send you multiple messages to let you know it's changed. Just so you know, I do have Rona on the phone. Rona, I call Rona so that she can hear the training. She doesn't have a computer, so I just call her. So these are the extra things that I like to do for those that are in it to win it. So anyways, welcome to today's training. Today's training is all about 5 ways to stop late night sugar cravings, because you know that they are just like causing havoc in your body. So I'd love for you to, say who you are, where you're from. If you have any questions or comments, you can post them right here and I'll be able to see them, which is super cool. So again, thanks so much for joining today, and we are going to start with the training right now. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so on the screen, you're going to see part of the training that I've done for my program, which was Slim, Strong, and Sexy Forever. I have upgraded the program to now include males as well, and it's called the Fit and Healthy Plan. So today you're going to learn some training from this program, which is all about stopping these crazy sugar cravings and getting your life back on track. So just so you know, a few results from the program that I've done is basically life-changing. And so we know Tammy, she dropped just like 10 pounds in just like 30 days, doing it right and keeping it off. We had Christine went off all these multiple medications. She actually had asthma when she came to me. She was a flute player, and just following a few of these tips that you're going to learn today, she was able to get off most of, in fact, I think all of her medications, which there was a laundry list. So when you give the body the right signals, it does heal. Okay. And then we had Olivia. She actually had fatty liver, came to me. She wanted to have this singing songwriting career, wasn't able to because she was sick, but she knew she had potential. So she came to me, and within just 30 days, we fixed it all up. And now she has a record deal in the States and she's traveling around. So this works. And so just pay attention, make your notes, ask me questions, and I'm happy to help you get your results. So the program that we're going to be talking about, again, is part of the Slim, Strong, and Sexy Forever program. Really what it's about is it's all about helping you drop that extra weight without starving or depriving, and keeping it off for life so that you can enjoy your life again, have freedom from food. And the program that I designed is the first part is always about like self-test assessment. Where are you at with your health? What is your body saying? Why isn't it where it is? Because really, there's not a one diet that fits all. There's foundational principles, but there's not a one diet fits all. And so I've been walking you through the self-test assessment week by week. Today we're talking about sugar cravings and hypoglycemia. But in the past, I've talked about hormones, and number one being leptin. If you're 20 or more pounds overweight, we know you have a leptin issue, and nobody's talking enough about leptin. So leptin is a hormone that's released by your fat cells. We need to get this working properly so that your body recognizes when it's hungry and full. So that was the first training. Second training, we talked a lot about digestion. My goodness, you can eat a healthy food, but are you digesting it? And if not, you're not optimizing your body, and likely you're overweight. So we talked about digestion. Then we got into food allergies. These are a missing piece. You could be eating the foods that is causing the weight gain. And I went through that. Then we talked about candida, and how that that goes out of control, you can actually have like yeast show up in other parts of the body, not just yeast infections, but really the pancreas, the liver. Then we got into the thyroid function, and you may have undiagnosed thyroid issues, because we really want to make sure that thyroid is working well. And so we self-identified that. We talked about adrenals after that. And today we talk about sugar cravings, which is part 1 out of a 9-step plan, the self-test assessment. So I have recorded the other trainings. You can go back under the guide and you'll be able to see those there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let you know that you first of all, can heal the body. The biggest struggles that most people make is they are just grabbing onto these shiny objects, like this one pill to stabilize blood sugar, or this one pill to make you not overeat. What about looking at why this is happening in your body? Because those are just a few signs, but what else is going on in the body that you don't even see? Okay, so those are signs of the two signs of a body that's misaligned, a body that's asking for help. So we don't want to keep like asking it to, like, we need to pay attention. We need to really fix what the body is saying. So we need to get away from these shiny objects and get right to the root cause. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Then the second area that most people actually make mistakes when trying to get their body back is they start a program, but they don't stay consistent because life gets in the way, or they have stress, they have emotional eating, they eat foods that they know they shouldn't, but they can't stop eating the food. And then everything falls off the rails. But really, if we continue that approach, you will never be successful. You've got to stick with the plan. And that's why coaching is so important. I have a coach. And I'm learning things, and I wouldn't be able to do it without him. So we all need coaches now. I mean, think about it. Where are you at now? And how do you plan on getting to where you want to go? You need a plan, and let's look at some coaching. And then we rely on self-motivation. I can do it. I can do it. Yeah, but self-motivation is fleeting. It's discipline that gets you through. It's being consistent that gets you through. And it's getting you through on the right plan, which you're going to learn about right now. So I'm going to stop this share. And I am going to go back here and just see if anyone has any questions or if they're posting anything. It could be that the timing was off, but it's 12 o'clock every Wednesday. So sorry about that. Anyways, you'll be able to see the replay. So any questions? I'm looking here. Not right now. Okay, so I'm going to go to my training for today. So I'm going to share my screen. One moment. Here we go. Okay, so on the screen, you likely are seeing, there, 5 ways to stop late night sugar cravings for good. What are you going to learn today? Well, we're going to learn to see if you actually have the underlying condition, which is hypoglycemia, which is actually driving these late night sugar cravings. We're going to see if you actually have that as a root cause. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what hypoglycemia is. Then we're going to talk about how it's completely tied to increased body fat. So why you're overweight, why you are fatigued, and why you have these late night sugar cravings. And then we're going to look at what's causing these cravings, the hypoglycemia. Then we're going to look at the solutions. Of course, that is the icing on the cake is the solutions. Okay, so that you can stop this for good. Because really, if you follow this, you likely can. So let's start with our questionnaire. So what you're going to need to do is grab your pen and paper, your notebook, and I'm going to ask you a series of signs and symptoms. And you're going to, if it holds true for you, you're going to mark a 1 for sometimes or mild, a 2 for often or moderate, and a 3 for very often or severe. And if it doesn't apply, just leave it blank. No worries. At the end of the questionnaire, we're going to tally up the numbers, and we're going to see if you pass the threshold. And if you do, then we know that you have some level of hypoglycemia, which is driving your late night sugar cravings. Okay, so the first one is, are you irritable when you're late or when you miss a meal? Do you have headaches after you miss a meal? Are you irritable before your first meal of the day, before breakfast? Do you get easily upset or frustrated? That's easily. Are you constantly worrying? Do you have fits of anger or agitation or these outbursts? Do you have episodes, like, do you get shaky? Do you have like these tremors? Do you have a sudden strong craving for sweets, or I need a coffee, or I need alcohol? Do you have episodes of uncontrollable eating or binging? You just can't stop eating. Do you have asthmatic attacks? Do you have anxiety attacks, like crying spells, like all of a sudden? Are you hungry soon after eating? Do you have a sudden drop in energy mid-morning or midday around the 3 o'clock mark, 3 p.m. PST? 3 o'clock your time. Are you sleepy after eating? That's a really good one. Are you sleepy after eating? Are you worse after eating dessert? Do you have cold hands or feet? Do you wake up feeling in the middle of the night hungry? Do you wake up in the middle of the night, you can't get back to sleep? Do you get headaches that are relieved by eating sweets? Or if you're shaky, relieved by eating sweets? Or depression, they're relieved by eating sweets? That's a good one. And your children, are they attention deficit or they're hyperactive? If you have kids or grandkids. That's the end of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some time to tally up all those numbers, and we're going to see if your score is 7 or higher. So I'm going to give you some time for that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen, and you know your numbers. And if you scored 7 or higher, we really, really want to pay attention to this, okay? So let's get on with the training. We're going to talk about what is hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is another name for low blood sugar. And so let's talk a little bit what happens in the body when you have low blood sugar. Well, the hormone that's responsible for raising or lowering blood sugar and shuttling the sugar into the cells is called insulin. You've likely heard of insulin. So insulin is the hormone, gets released by the pancreas, and what it does, it will, anytime there is food, it will shuttle the nutrition into the cells, and if it can't get that into the cells, then it needs to do something else. And this is what this is all about, is how insulin plays a role in high blood sugar, low blood sugar, and what happens when things fall off the rails. When things fall off the rails, we know that we're on our way to prediabetes or diabetes. That's when things fall off the rails. It starts with a low blood sugar situation, which you may have, and then it leads to other things. Now, let's talk a little bit about, more about insulin and what foods you eat that would raise insulin and cause things disarray. So really, the main macronutrient that is responsible for highs and lows of insulin and highs and lows of sugar is carbohydrates. So we really need to pay attention to the carbohydrates that we eat in our daily diets. So what are carbohydrates? So carbohydrates are grains, they're fruits, and they're vegetables. So when I hear someone say, I don't eat carbohydrates, but they eat vegetables, they are eating carbohydrates. It's part of the carbohydrate family. And each type of food behaves differently in the body, but they're all carbohydrates. What are they? That's sugar to the body. It's not protein to the body. It's not fat to the body. It's sugar to the body, called glucose. Okay. And so what happens is when we eat these carbohydrates, some carbohydrates have a little bit of fat, a little bit of sugar, but primary, they are sugar. Okay. And so when you eat these type of foods, it enters your digestive system and it creates energy for you at the end of the game. Now, the problem lies if you eat too many of these foods, or if they're too refined, they have less of the natural fibers and they're alterated too much. Okay, then we have a real problem. Okay, and so what happens then is we'll have a high blood sugar surge from having these too many carbs or the wrong type of carbs, and then it's followed by the sugar crash, which is the hypoglycemia. Okay, and when that happens, you're under stress, you have inflammation, and all these things, fall off the rails, right? So what basically happens is, let's see where I'm going to go with this here. Basically what happens is we want to make sure that our blood sugar is stable. Okay. And so when our blood sugar is stable, we are able, when we do things right, which you're going to learn today, you'll be able to finally release that body fat. You're going to be able to finally protect the muscle mass and actually grow more. So you look more lean and more muscular and more toned. You're going to also eliminate those cravings, and you're going to increase your energy. That's when everything is balanced, when we do the right things. But what happens is if we do the wrong things, our body stores fat. It goes directly to fat. Okay. And so that's basically what we're talking about here, is getting it balanced. All right. And so when it's balanced, then you've moved away from being just always using sugar as an energy source. You're actually able to use fat as an energy source. So now you're a fat burner and you're a sugar burner. You're kind of both. You want to be more of a fat burner using your own body fat or foods from using energy from your foods than you would being a sugar burner. Okay. And that will reflect on your body shape. Okay. So those that are lean, they're fat burners. Those that are overweight, they're sugar burners. And so the key is to get the blood sugar balance so that you can switch gears from fat to sugar. It's called metabolically flexible. So you want to have that metabolic balance so that you can be metabolically flexible and you can switch energy sources, fat, sugar. Okay. And we're going to learn about that today. Now, how does this low blood sugar actually increase our body fat? Here's how it kind of works. Is when you have low blood sugar, you're going to increase your body fat storage because the recruitment of the muscle tissue. So you're actually, not only are you gaining more fat, you're actually reducing your muscle mass, because what happens is if you have low blood sugar, your body has to get energy from somewhere. It's crashing. And so we'll actually start to break down your muscle tissue to get the energy. And if you keep doing that, you will become less toned, less muscular, and you will lower your metabolism. And then the more that you lower it, the less you can eat. And then when you do start to eat the way you want to eat, you will gain weight. This is effectively called yo-yo dieting. And it's a recipe for disaster, because actually the more that you yo-yo, the more fat cells become inflamed, the harder it is to lose weight. So if you're yo-yoing and you haven't done anything about that, now definitely would be the time, because later you're going to have a really tough time losing weight. So hypoglycemia, and how does that relate to fatigue? Well, what happens is when you have low blood sugar, it's usually because your blood sugar is fluctuating high, low, high, low, high, low, and then you have a sudden crash. And then what happens is every time that happens, the adrenals get hammered, the adrenals get activated. And the more times the adrenals get activated, those are your stress glands, they become overworked, they become tired, and they become sluggish, and then you become sluggish. So they're completely tied to, hypoglycemia is completely tied to your adrenals, which is your stress, and then you become fatigued. If we don't take care of this, you have chronic fatigue. So if this is something that you have now, I would definitely start to look at that, because it really gets difficult later down the road, because other glands start to suffer if you don't take care of this now. Let's talk a little bit about late night sugar cravings, because hypoglycemia is completely tied to this. So what happens is with low blood sugar, you get this sudden onset of a craving, and it's usually for sweets, because you want to raise that blood sugar right away, or it might be coffee because you're tired, or it might be, oh, I just need a break, and you grab the alcohol. So this is what is driving the late night sugar cravings, is this blood sugar dysregulation, this high blood sugar to low blood sugar, and then the sudden crash. What's behind it? It's your brain. Your brain. If this is something that happens to you on a regular basis, then what you've done is the brain is so used to just having sugar as a fuel source, it's not using fat, as in ketones, as a fuel source. So you've actually trained the brain only to be able to use glucose. And so the brain is driving these cravings. It's all about that. Okay. And so you'll also notice that when you have low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, you're also going to have other brain conditions associated with that: headaches, depression, anxiety, irritability, blurred vision, and mental confusion. Those are all brain related. Why? Because of the blood sugar issues. Here's the thing. If we still don't take care of this and you still give into the cravings on a regular basis, what happens is your brain becomes even resistant to the blood sugar. And this then that actually can lead to Alzheimer's, which is diabetes type 3. That will get there. This is the journey that it goes. So here's the thing. I mean, why wouldn't you take care of it now if this is like the body saying, please help me with my blood sugar, I am suffering. We're going to learn some skills, some tools today, but really, I really hope this hits home with you. Okay. And we start to flip things around. So what we're going to talk about is something that is not talked about enough. And that is what could be the driving force behind this hypoglycemic situation. What is the driver, the main driver? I mean, we know there's 8, but what's the main driver? Well, actually, it's leptin resistance. And again, I've spoken to this about this topic in the other trainings I've done. Why? Because we need to bring this, we need to speak more about this, because leptin is a hormone. Leptin is a hormone that's released from your white fat cells, enters your brain, tells your brain that you're satisfied, you're full. What happens is people are not paying attention and they're eating when they're not supposed to eat, and then they become leptin resistant. That's when blood sugar goes off the rails, high, low, because you're not eating at the right times. So we need to really pay attention to getting leptin working again, because just like you can become insulin resistant, and which leads to diabetes, you can become leptin resistance, which leads to this situation where you can't lose weight. If you're 20 or more pounds overweight, we really need to pay attention to leptin and getting it working. My previous trainings in the guide will show you how to do that. And if you need more help, let me know. I'm here for you, okay? Just schedule a call. So basically, this leptin resistance will drive the hunger and then drive the insatiable cravings that you need to, like, you just have to have all the time. And the willpower won't set you free. We've got to get this leptin working again, okay? If you're watching this and you have PMS symptoms, that means you're not in menopause and you're still menstruating, but you have this gas, bloating, irritability, you have these crying spells, you have breast tenderness, ovarian pain, like all these things PMS wise, then it may be that you have hypoglycemia. So really they are tied together. So I would be paying attention to this as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the causes. I did briefly talk about leptin, but right now we're going to start with number 1, which is your dietary habits. What are you putting in your body? Are you putting an excessive amount of these sugars, caffeine or alcohol? Okay, so caffeine, more than 2 cups a day would be excessive. Alcohol, I would say just the weekends would be the best, or maybe 1 glass a night, which is kind of what I do. But you know, when I had to fix myself, I gave up all sugars, all fruit, all alcohol, all caffeine for about 1.5 years. I went all hog. Why? Because I had an aging disease, osteoporosis. Doesn't sit well with me. So I went and I changed everything. Okay. Because I knew I had more to give. And I couldn't give if my bones were breaking down, my hair was falling out, I had very little energy. What use am I? And that's a depressing life. So I actually did give all this up for about 1.5 years, and I completely turned my health around. So, hey, if I can do it, you can do it too. I'm not someone special. I just knew I wanted to live a fun life. And now I'm speaking and I'm sharing this with you so you don't have to suffer like I did. Okay, so now we're going to talk about unidentified food sensitivities. So we're going to look at foods that you're eating that you're actually allergic to, and they would drive the blood sugar swings. And so one good tip is there a food that you just can't live without? Because foods and addictions are two sides of the same coin. It will give you an idea if you're actually allergic to it, because the body wants it, because it's going to give you a lift, but then it crashes after. So maybe think about that. Artificial sweeteners, nasty, 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 nasty. They look great. Oh, low calorie, no calories, awesome. Even I can have as much as I want. Hey, I fell into that trap, believe me, with the ice cream. Oh yeah, I remember Kid Solano. Oh, they had these ice cream shops, and I used to go in them because they had no calories. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Anyways, they actually disrupt your brain chemistry, and they make you want to keep eating. So you wonder why you can have like a whole tub of it, because it actually hijacks your brain. Oh yeah, they know that. They know that. So they sell more to you. This is how it is. It's marketing. Not good for your health though, but now you're learning. You may know that already, but really, what are the artificial sweeteners? What are the names? Aspartame. So check your gum. I would like to show you mine because I don't have one with aspartame. It's xylitol. Saccharin, Splenda, and there's a couple others. But really, we need to have natural sweeteners like stevia or xylitol. Okay, so what other causes would there be for hypoglycemia? I'm actually going to stop this for a sec, and I'm going to look to see if I have any questions. Not right now. Okay, that's cool. No worries. I'm going to go back to my screen. Oh. Not that one. Just one sec. Sorry. One moment. Okay. Yeah. All right. So going back. Here we go. Dehydration. So we need to drink enough water. Okay. And so if you think you're hungry, you may actually be thirsty. And so again, that could disrupt leptin because the body needs to eat when it's supposed to eat, not when you're not hungry. So let's think about drinking enough water to know when you're truly hungry. And also it has so many other benefits as well, drinking enough water. We also want to make sure that, this is number 5, is we don't want to ignore our hunger signals for too long. We want to feel a little hungry. We don't want to not be hungry. That wouldn't be good. Because when you are a bit hungry, you're actually able to burn fat because you haven't eaten yet. But we don't want it to go too long. Okay. So a really good rule of thumb that I do is, I'm getting hungry, and then I'll start to eat around 30 minutes later. Okay. That way I haven't gone past the tipping point. Because if you do, what happens is you start to break down muscle tissue, but also you can have stomach issues. You can have gas, you can have bloating, and then you tend to overeat. So that is being mindful of, am I really hungry? Oh yeah, I'm starting to get hungry. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to wait about 30 minutes and I'm going to eat. So it's a good rule of thumb. It might work for you. We talked about carbohydrates and how they can disrupt the blood sugar swings and leading to things like being tired, late night snacking, and being overweight. Well, how we're going to solve this is we are going to eat protein and fat. So we really need to get away from just eating carbohydrates on their own, and we need to eat them with a source of protein or fat, okay? That will balance the blood sugar. So we have another cause of hypoglycemia, and that I call it the busy person's syndrome. We're always in a hurry, and we have little downtime. That is the busy person's syndrome. Well, actually, we're designed for small periods of rest and relaxation during the day, small periods. And I know for me, when I studied high performance, which I actually keep studying that because I really enjoy high performance living. What we do is we work for either 45 minutes and take a 15-minute break, or we work for an hour and a half straight, like in the zone, and then we take 20 minutes off. So we kind of flip back and forth, and that way we can give ourselves a reset, and then we can go back to it. That is a way to have greater productivity during the day when you do these blocks of time. For somebody who sits all day in their job, then what I would do is set a timer. And because if you're sitting all the time, we need to change those habits. So I would set a timer, and I would make sure every 45 minutes I would get up off my chair and I would walk around, and I would ideally get outside, get the natural sunlight, reset the circadian rhythm, and then come back. And I would do that. Okay. Do that as much as you can during the day, or get a standing desk. That really helps as well, because you're not always sitting all the time. So that is something that you can do as well. Lack of sleep. Yeah, this is a big one. So if you have lack of sleep, if you're not getting enough high quality sleep, you're actually going to wake up with blood sugar dysregulation and also digestive issues. Why? Because you need a good sleep to reset the body to have good digestion and good blood sugar. Okay. And what is a good amount of sleep? That's probably a good question. Well, in the summertime, we're going to want 8 hours of solid sleep. In the wintertime, we're going to want 9.5 hours of solid sleep. And then we can fluctuate between fall and spring. Right now, it's spring here. And so it would be about, 8.5 hours solid sleep. Okay. When you do, everything works. Your body resets, your body regenerates, all these things. Something's happening to my screen. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I know. It's could be this. There we go. Isn't that funny? It's going to have its own. I don't really know what it was doing, but mind of its own. One sec. Sorry. Okay. Something's happening with my cursor. I don't know. Anyway, it'll work itself out. Okay. So we're going to do that there. Okay, so we're going to go back to, weird, it's got a mind of its own. Okay, well, I better get to this. And if not, I already went through all the slides myself, and I can just speak about it here. Okay, you be good now. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about the solutions to getting your blood sugar back into balance. I don't know what's happening here. Sorry. All right, here we go. We're going to make adjustments. So what are we going to do? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our diet, and we're going to make sure that, sorry, weird. Hey, this has never happened to me before. We're going to make sure that the carbohydrates that we're having are going to be, if they're going to be fruits, they're going to be low glycemic fruits like berries. If they're going to be vegetables, they're going to be above the ground vegetables, okay? And if you're having grains and you have hypoglycemia, you're going to want to flip them over and have yams or sweet potatoes or winter squashes instead, okay? Quinoa is technically a seed, and wild grass is a grain, so you can have some of that. That is not a grain. So wild rice is a grass, and quinoa is a seed. So we can have some of that. Just make sure that you soak those first. Okay, so we're going to get away from the artificial sweeteners. We're going to get into the natural sweeteners. That's another thing. We're going to, instead of having grain flours like spelt or kamut or wheat, we're actually going to maybe flip it around to coconut flour, arrowroot flour, almond meal, chickpea flour, ground flax seeds or chia seeds. These are better for you than just the grain flours. Instead of soda pop or fruit juice, we're going to look at having mineral water. So sparkling mineral water, okay, better choice. Herbal teas, we're going to have those instead of caffeine. Good herbal teas for blood sugar is holy basil. That's really good. Or Tulsi tea would be another way to say that. Blood sugar. That would be the best. Yeah. Coconut powder or chocolate flavored protein powder can replace all those chocolate cravings. Like if you love chocolates, we can have chocolate. You can have like a chocolate smoothie with chocolate flavored protein powder. Pretty cool, eh? And then I would reserve the alcohol for the weekends only or special occasions. Here's a little bit more about the diet, but we can go through that maybe on a one-on-one call if you're interested in diving deeper. So basically, we're also going to look at these food sensitivities. So if you are addicted to a food you can't live without, then maybe that is a sign that it is a food sensitivity. Just a thought. Okay, we're going to get now into detox. So we talked about changes to your diet, but then we also need to talk about detox. Here's the thing. If our blood sugar is out of whack, our body is not, with all the stress going on and all this going on, your body's ability to detoxify is limited. Okay. And so we want to assist our body to detox to be able to get rid of the toxins so that we can stop these sugar cravings, we can balance our blood sugar, and everything can work well. So this is the form of detox that I use. They're drops. And what they do is they clear away toxins from your primary organs of elimination, your liver, your kidney, and your gut. We need to make those working better so that we can clear away the poison from the body, out of the body, not recirculating it, but out of the body, so that the foods that we do eat are going to nourish our bodies and actually go in. Okay, so detox is really, 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 really important. We're going to stay hydrated. We talked about that. We're going to have protein and fat with each of our meals. We're not going to have carbs on their own. The other thing is we're going to say no to all this busyness all the time. Hey, I have to work on this myself, so I get it. Because we are go-getters. We like to do stuff, but if we have to know how far we can take that. So sometimes we need to say no to people to say yes to ourselves. Those are boundaries. And if you say yes to your values and no to what you don't value, for example, it's a really good idea to take a step back and go, what do I value that I will put my time into? So then you think about what that would be. If the obligation doesn't fit within those values, just say no. It's really that cut and dry. If you need some help with that, I would be more than happy, because I actually went through this in the training with the mindset mastery with my group. And it's really nailing in what your value system is. So then it's so easy for you to say no to things and yes to other things. And you have the peace of mind going, no, I know what's right. All right. So I do teach on that as well. So if you need some help, let me know. We talked about sleep. We need to get our sleep. And then for supplements, there are 3 primary supplements that really, really help with balancing blood sugar. The first one is berberine formula. Berberine formula is really, really good to balance blood sugar. It's actually been as effective in studies as metformin. Metformin is used for diabetics or pre-diabetics. That is a drug. Berberine formula is an herbal formula. So it has no side effects unless you are on certain medications. We would double check that because it is a herb. But for the most part, it is safe, okay, with the right dose and the right form. So if someone here is looking for blood sugar balance, we're going to want to look at berberine formula. The other one we're going to look at is alpha lipoic acid. Alpha lipoic acid is really good for peripheral neuropathy. If somebody here is diabetic and they can't feel their limbs, we're going to want to look at alpha lipoic acid with the right dose, because that can actually help to bring the circulation back while we work on the diet and lifestyle. The other one is acetyl L-carnitine. Acetyl L-carnitine is really good to help balance blood sugar, because it actually helps to support fat burning and move you in the direction of that part of your body. Instead of having sugar burning, your fat burning, and then it really helps to balance that part out as well. Well, we are done with the training today, and I am going to stop the screen share, and I'm going to look to see if there's, okay, so Joanne's watching. Good. Hi, Joanne. So nice to see you. So no questions, but really interesting. Okay, no, I appreciate the comments. That's really, really good. And it's nice that you said yes to StreamYard, so I can see who this really is, because last time I had all these questions and comments, but I didn't know who they were coming from. And it just, this feels more like a community if I can see who I'm talking to. So thank you so much, Joanne. And if there's any other questions from anybody else, please let me know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this screen share. One moment. And I'm going to go here. And what I'm going to do now is, okay, so I do want to reach out to you and say, if you want to take a deeper dive, if you really want to take care of your health and get your body back without any more struggle, without any more depriving, starving, anything like that, and you want me to pull this together for you and save you some time, and you're ready, okay? Reach out to me, send me a direct message or a comment, or find me here, and I would love to help those that are ready to be helped, okay? And because I know what it feels like to feel like crap. I felt like crap for many, many years, all right? And I've turned it all around, not because I was special, only because I figured it out. And I find all the missing pieces into a plan that is fun to follow. So I'm here for you. And again, if you have any questions on blood sugar, if you have any questions on late night snacking, anything at all, I am here. Just ask Michelle. I'm here for you. So thanks very much for joining in. And I will see you next Wednesday, 12 p.m. PST. And I will be talking about, I got to think about it. What am I going to talk about? Actually, I'm going to be talking about fat flush fundamentals. We're going to get right into fat burning. Like, we're going to do a deep dive into fat burning. It's going to be amazing because it's really easy to burn fat when you know what you're doing. And it's really liberating as well to see changes in your body. Okay, so anyways, I've talked enough, and thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next Wednesday. And if not, reach out to me now and we will connect. Okay, thanks. Bye.